All right, looks like we are live. Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday, and more importantly, happy InDesign Tuesday. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Terry White, worldwide design and photography evangelist for Adobe. It is my pleasure to be streaming to you once again on InDesign Tuesday, which means we're going to be talking about InDesign. And I have a special treat for you today. This is a question that I've gotten over and over and over again on both my YouTube channel and here on the InDesign Facebook page. And it's basically about or revolving around how do I do math equations? What's the best way to, I'm making a book about math equations. I need to design a document that has math equations in it. And honestly, I haven't dealt with that personally probably for the last 15 years, but I know it's a big requirement. I know there's lots of people that need to do it on a regular basis. So I decided that I'm not cut out for this. I'll bring in an expert. So with that said, let me bring in my special guest today. Ferdinand is here all the way from Germany. And Ferdinand makes first of all, Ferdinand he works for a company called Movemen, and they make a product called MathTools, and it's designed specifically for InDesign. Ferdinand, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I am great. I know that Mike Zahork from the Adobe side put us together, but tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about your company and how you came to be a part of that company or start the company or found the company, whatever it is. And let us know a little bit about your product before we dive into seeing what it does.
So I founded movemen about 19 years ago, and we started with InDesign Plugin development and some Core Express development, actually. And 17 years ago, I started with MathTools. It was an idea from a typesetter. And this started out as InMath. And for about 10 years, it was InMath. And then we had to change the name for legal reasons. And then it was MathTools. And it's up to today. We are a small company with some employees, some freelancers working together. And we do mainly MathTools like the last 7 years. And before that, we did a lot of projects with Adobe and custom development. I'm a trainer for InDesign API development. And that's it, more or less.
And for those of you that don't even know what API stands for, can you explain a little bit about what that means? Like API, application programmer interface, I'm guessing.
Yes, and it's a way that you it's an interface that you need to understand if you want to create plugins for InDesign. Because if you need to use features like the text model and what we are doing here with the MathTools, then you have to dive into a very complex and huge list of functionalities and interfaces. And that's what API stands for.
Okay. And the reason, and this goes all the way back to the beginning, the reason that programs like Photoshop and InDesign and Illustrator have plugins in the first place is that the teams realize that they can't be all things to all people. So they work on the main foundation of InDesign or Illustrator or Photoshop or whatever it is, and they leave what almost are considered niche products or niche solutions to third-party developers that will focus on it and do it the right way and do it the best way. So by creating that API foundation, they can go ahead and leave it up to them to develop an integrated solution that works great with InDesign, but gives people what they need. And that's exactly what MathTools is. So can you, do you want to get started, or do you want to say anything else before we jump into your screen?
I think we have limited time, so I would just like to get started.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'll switch over to you and we'll take it away.
Okay, so we're doing everything in InDesign today, and it's about integrated equation editing in InDesign. MathTools is built for and into InDesign text engine. What that means, I think it's easiest way, instead of using words, is showing you the sample that you know today when you're working with equation editors, which are not MathTools, but some of the competitors. You have tons of equation images inside your document. They are inlines, they are anchored inside the document, inside the story. And whenever you need to change something in the type, you have to visit any of these images and update them to use the same type, color, the font, and so on. In MathTools, things work slightly different. So I take one of those equations, go back to my presentation. Next slide, next slide. Here we paste the copy it, and what you expect is that it's taking this equation, it's taking the image with it, equation image, and of course the type. So I want to change the type now, and show that this is not possible to automatically update the equation image when you change your type. And that's because it's an image, and it's still an image, even if you change the type. So here you change the point size, it did not update. You change even the font, it did not update. So you would have to open this equation in your equation editor and manipulate it so that it fits your type. MathTools is able to convert some of those equation images into what is called math zone, which is text. You can see it just used the functionality of MathTools to create something that is a MathTools equation called math zone.
So, and just to point out a couple of things as I'm noticing it. So first of all and foremost, that MathTools is integrated right in the menu of InDesign. So it basically added a math menu. You were able to make a selection in a text frame I think that was a text frame, and then just have it convert that into an actual math equation as actual text inside of InDesign.
Yes, because InDesign itself, MathTools is integrated into the InDesign text story, and the composition engine is not using external frames like images or custom frames. It really prepares the equation as text, and InDesign composes the text. So what I want to...
So whereas many might have thought, couldn't you just get a math font? It's not that simple. It's just not.
It's not that simple. I want to show you why. You can see here one problem due to conversion. The author was using an apostrophe. Just enter some here, not the prime character. And if it's a right equation, it should be a prime character. So I'll delete that. So I'm editing the equation right now, and I need to reset my workspace. I don't know why it's always dropping that toolbars. I have a number of tools, and that's one way of creating equation in InDesign is using those toolboxes. I have one that has primes in it. Those are just a list or a list of expression types that MathTools supports. I applied this equation type, and now it's the correct prime expression. You can see, I don't know how well you can see it, it's a visual feedback drawn here, and even this frame around what you can see, this light frame, that's just a visual feedback. It's not really an embedded frame. It is text.
Okay.
So you can,
and that was the conversion. I assume you can just go ahead and you just type in your own equations as well, correct?
Yeah. Yes, sure. Okay. I come to that just in a minute. You can change the styling. I mean, MathTools introduces a new set of styles called Math Styles. This allows you to change the format or the style, the appearance of the equation as you like. It works really pretty much like character styles. If you need a different rendition, if you need to change something, you just create a copy of that style, you duplicate that style, or you just change this. If you want to have less space here, you can change this with the preview, directly see that. And so you're ready to use it in a different way. And of course, everywhere where this is used, you can, it updates as well. It works like a style. So if you want to introduce, or now here's some text, which is an equation, but it's not, the author decided to use this just text for it. You can use MathTools to make it an equation, to just convert this text into a math zone. And now you have the visual feedback of math zone. And now let's say you want to insert a fraction. Okay, so this was very easy because what I did, I have decided to define a shortcut for that style, so I can directly enter that expression. I could have used one of those types here as well, one of those tools to enter a sum, for example, sum expression. You see, and this is creating an expression, and you can then start styling that expression with the styles.
Okay, so we got a question from Colleen. I know Colleen's all the way in South Africa. Colleen's asking, what does the formula do?
I don't understand. What does the formula do? What?
Yeah, so Colleen, can you clarify that question a little bit more? Like, which formula are you referring to? You can keep going until she responds. I'll keep track of it.
So this was a sample of converting some of the equation images. Another sample, what you see very often is you have Word documents, and Word documents contain equations from Equation Builder, and you want to load those equations along with the text. So let's do a test. I'm placing a Word document. That is just a single equation in the Word document. Placing it, and you see there's nothing. Undo, so you can see the cursor is loaded. I hope you can see that.
Yep, we see it.
It's just that's one of the problems with the InDesign Word import. It simply ignores the equation builder images. There's no feedback that there was one. So MathTools introduced a Word import wrapper.
Place Word document import, got it.
And it is using in the background the InDesign native Word engine, but it's adding functionality to. Okay, it's not exactly what I wanted. Okay, no matter. To handle the equation, and you see it is text. It's not an image that is imported.
So that was an equation built in Word that your MathTools converted into an equation that would display inside of InDesign that would still be text.
Yes, it is text now. And after changing, I changed the styling again. I wanted to use my InDesign styling. It was a little bit distorted. It was not rendering well anymore. That's because all the equation composition information needs to be updated to match the paragraph style context, and that's done using the recomposed math zones. It could be done, and I can show it in another context. It could be done automatically, and then would perfectly work in this little demo environment. But if you have 500 equations and you change something that affects like 200 of it, it will take some processing time to get this all updated. That's why I usually have this setting turned off, so I can continue styling the document, and when I'm done, I'm looking at the equations. So in the end, you can, just another way how it is integrated, you can find like an X, and it finds it inside the equation as well. This is the normal, and you can replace it, and there's no more find change.
And that's the standard find and change that's built in InDesign. It's not MathTools, yeah.
That is yes, and that's another proof that it's really inside InDesign. It's not something on top of InDesign. It really tries to use all the services of InDesign to integrate very seamlessly. And you can also change the styling using a math style find change. I want to replace the fraction style by a slightly bigger version, a variant of the style. Find, not a selection, it's the story. I find that fraction style, and I change it. Find the next, and I change it. Okay. And I can do the same thing with the other parts as well. I could use a menu. It's a context menu to change the appearance of that big operator, that sum operator as well, just using context menu. And it's essentially switching between the math styles that are available. You can create them as you need them. It's really, if you know character styles, you instantly understand how math styles are working actually.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Colleen's add a little bit more to her question. I'm still not sure I understand it, but let's see if you do. The screen formula, what does it cause InDesign to do? Why would I use it? Did you mention like a screen formula?
No, it's not.
Right,
I mean, MathTools is not calculating anything. It's really just creating books. That's about it.
Right. So for someone making a math textbook or using math equations in any kind of document, this isn't actually a spreadsheet. It's not like it's not solving the formula. It's just letting you create the formula, which would be very difficult to do manually.
Yes.
So hopefully that answers it, Colleen.
So considering the time, I mean, I can show way more features, but I think we have a number of things to show, and we can then again look at the features.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you're not doing all those equations just to create an InDesign document. Obviously, you want to create some output, some PDF, some digital content with the equations as well. And that it seems to be very obvious and easy to do, but it is not, mainly because of symbols which are not supported on devices. So I'm not showing the PDF export, but what I'm showing here is something that will be announced in a couple of days from Axio. The plugin is called Made to Tag. And like a year ago, we decided to work together to add support for PDF UA, which allows those equations to be accessible, provided, of course, your PDF renderer or your AT tool is able to read and speak MathML. But it's in the PDF at least. I couldn't manage to get all the tagging right for that document, so I decided to create a simple document with only the equations, tagged it, and I can create a PDF from that, which is UA, PDF UA. I don't want to save that, but I want to save the PDF. It's creating a tagged PDF. I forgot to check.
And speaking of PDF, so Jennifer's asking, are the equations accessible to screen readers when exported to PDF? And I would imagine they are since they're text, but I'll let you answer.
Yes, I mean, I'm not a PDF specialist, but they are inside the PDF. They are marked up as formula inside the PDF. They are annotated. They have the MathML as properties available. So if your tool is supporting that, and I was told from Axio folk that this will be MathML will be part of PDF UA tool, then it will be able to read that. So that's the best I can tell you, because I'm not a PDF specialist. But we're creating PDF UA 1 right now, and they told me that PDF UA 2 supports MathML natively. Okay. So whatever that means, Major Tag will be released anytime soon. And if you have equations in your document that are made by MathTools, and you have the new version, and you should be able to test that out, actually. So this was a PDF, the accessible PDF export. Yeah. But you have also a lot of exports like EPUB. And that's very common today, EPUB with equation images.
So for people that are doing, they're doing ebooks. So having this be a part of your ebook directly out of InDesign.
Exactly. And if you do with images, you get, InDesign creates, or MathTools prepares everything so that InDesign can create image from it. So I did white text on white background. Have to do it again. It happens every once in a while. And here is the text you find over here.
So
and here you have an image. I don't know if you can see that actually. It's an image. I see it. And you have another image here. That's created exactly from those frames, or from the text flow on the fly when you use that export menu. Now the same thing for I'm doing for MathML. EPUB reflowable with MathML.
Yeah, so reflowable is my least favorite.
Yeah, it is still requested because of all those different devices. You don't get the really nice experience, but you get the content.
Right, the layout the layout becomes sacrificed in order to just have it reflow, but that looks pretty good.
Yeah, now you have the equations, and they are MathML inside EPUB. So you need to have them. You need to have a reader, an EPUB reader, or device that supports them. But it's done in a way that can be reused. And here you see a very common issue. If you don't mark text, which is supposed to be an equation, as a math zone, it will render as text. And while the math zones will render as MathML. So you see there's a different X here. The one is different to the text one. There are different fonts depending on what kind of font you're using. The difference can be really, really big. So you better put everything that is an equation into a math zone, and this way you add the information into the document that you're working with math zone. So that was most part like the overview of MathTools. We saw that you can enter equations in InDesign. You can build them in InDesign, but very often you get the manuscripts from your authors using Word, TeX, or some other format, and you need to import that into InDesign because you should not rekey the entire equation. And
right. So this is really a professional tool for authors that are going to be working with tons of equations for a book or some other big project like that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, sneak peeks. We love sneak peeks. What do you got?
Yes, here is a sneak peek. I want to show you something that is really cool because it's for authors. It's also for automators. Now, I didn't mention that a good portion of the customers that are using MathTools are automating the entire process using InDesign Server, for example. They feed XML and MathML into it, or they use scripting to place MathML snippets as equations and do all the rest in automation steps. So MathZone Styles is helping. I have to quit that document or that InDesign instance and just relaunch InDesign. So that they are doing a lot in automation, and they would prefer that MathTools is doing a lot more automatically. So especially if you create an equation on the fly. Oh. Now, wouldn't it be cool? I mean, I created something in the current version, and I showed the current version just before that. But if you enter like +X, it didn't automatically render it and put kerning in between the operator and the X.
Mm-hmm.
It did not recognize functions like sinus and render it in a different way, and especially make it a wrong type and make it a function, so that the entire process is aware that this is a function. You could not enter just symbols in a very simple way. I mean, if you ever deal with equations or with even just with symbols, you always had to go through glyph panel and find them. You could create your glyph lists or sets, but you always have to use the mouse to enter them, and it's like disturbing if you're writing an equation and you're always switching back and forth with the mouse. Most of the power users prefer to work inside the story with the keyboard, and you have very limited keyboard shortcuts, and you need to remember them as well. So it would be nice if you could just enter the equation and it's styled. So and it's not just styled in a way that we decided it should look like, but you decide how it should look like. So if I do the same here, it's a separate story. It's a separate paragraph. It's rendering. It's rendered in a different font, for example. The X is using a different font. It has more white space. It has more kerning between the operators. And if you switch the paragraph style, if you apply a different paragraph style, it is automatically applying the formatting that you set up just by applying the different paragraph styles. So
that's a standard InDesign paragraph style, right? That just incorporates the MathTools functions.
Yes, it is. I mean, it is InDesign, but InDesign is extensible in many ways. And I found a way to add my own features into the paragraph styles. I did that. I introduced a new math zone style, and you have a list right now. This is just very basic functionality here in the UI. You have a list of math zone styles. I created 2 of them. They're not hard-coded. It's really just configuration. You even have a math zone styles panel. And inside the math zone style, you can specify the kerning. You can specify what kind of styling you want to have for the equation, and you can even influence. You can even specify how equations are drawn. And I want to show you this in a different sample. So this is a little bit more elaborate. Remove that one. So here you have a real equation with a sum and a fraction. And just by applying a different paragraph style, you switch even those symbols, you switch the math styles that are applied as well. And that's done using math style sheet. And all that is part of the math zone style, which is the new feature.
Okay.
What is very requested is the kerning.
When you say a new feature, is that coming or is that out now?
That is coming in version 4.
Coming.
The reason it is actually available, and I showed parts of it years ago already, but these features require changes in the file format. So if I would support this, if I would open that document that I saved here, in the normal version of MathTools, then it would complain that it's missing a plugin, which is Math Zone Styles. And you can't just add that plugin. It's just a matter of matter of functionality that is added to the document that's now not supported in the current version. And customers do not really like breaking backwards compatibility very much. So I can't. Version 3 was a pure functionality update. It was not adding all the features that we already had. Just because customers denied updating, unless we offer backward compatibility with version 2 of MathTools. So now with version 4, moving on, we will break backward compatibility just because otherwise we can't introduce these new features. Those styles or those elements inside the paragraph styles, those references here, for example, the math style, that is maintained somewhere. And if another plugin, the old plugin, can't read that information, InDesign would just drop it. And it would mean if you open it in version 2 and save the file and you open it in version 3 again, it would just not know anything about MathTools file anymore.
Right, we run into that all the time. Only so many things can be backwards compatible without them breaking. So,
yeah,
we get it. So the question that has been coming up on a regular basis is: this looks great. How much? How do I get it? Is it for individuals? Is it only for publisher companies? Like, how is this sold?
This is sold in an online shop. And I haven't prepared that actually. It's InDesignMathTools.com.
InDesignMathTools.com. Okay.
Yes, it's just wanted to show you. So it's a very simple thing. It's you can check out. It says euro, but in countries, euro is only in European countries. Otherwise, it would, based on your location, it would use.
Yeah, because you're in Germany. That's why it's showing euros.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. That's the way.
And so that's an annual subscription. It looks like.
Exactly, it's an annual subscription.
Okay.
There are no perpetual licenses. Right. It follows the basic principle of InDesign. So it's an annual subscription, and we offer support, and you can even purchase maintenance if you like to. Some major customers do, and those are available for InDesign Copy. The enterprise version, it adds scripting and is available for InDesign only. And there's an InDesign Server version, which is an enterprise version as well, but built for InDesign Server.
Got it. All right. So the people that were asking how much, there you go. So here's something that comes up on a regular basis, just in general. People say things like this. So Florian's saying, it would be great if InDesign could just calculate it all by itself, aka Excel. It would be great, but the reality is, in order to put just even calculations in, unless you do it all the way, you're not going to satisfy everybody. If I just do plus, minus, subtract, and divide, is that enough? No, it's not. Okay, so now I'm doing averages and square root. Is that enough? No, it's not. So InDesign or Adobe's better spending their time making it a better layout tool than trying to copy Excel. So I get the desire, but the reality is it's just best not to go down a path that you're not trying to replace Excel. So either you're never going to satisfy everybody, or it's just not worth the effort because you would be so limited in what it could do. And the time would be better spent making InDesign a better layout tool than it would be trying to compete with or incorporate in spreadsheet functionality. So people ask that question all the time. For example, when I show tables and we put it like we import an Excel document. Well, if I change the numbers, will it calculate? No, because it would have to know all the various calculations that are possible that an Excel spreadsheet could do. And it's just not worth the programming time to do all that. And I would imagine it would even be worse if you start talking about equations and having it do all that math. So it's just not worth the effort. It'd be nice to have, but not worth it. All right, Ferdinand, do you have anything else? Or
Well, I can show more of the expressions if you.
All right, let's see if we got any more questions. I know we're running low on time. We're just about the end. But if you wanted to show us like maybe one more thing, and we'll see if we have any questions before we wrap it up.
So you can create your own math toolboxes. If you like to work with the mouse, it probably makes sense to create your own toolboxes. The way you do that is either if you use one of the predefined ones, and you just want to use some special labeled arrow, and you just drag it over to your existing one, and over there it is. So you can insert that expression over there. So I should have made a bigger one. So you have here's a long arrow. You can see you can use that to in financial documents, for example, where you need these kind of expressions. So you can then predefine the styling for your operators. You can even add symbols there as you like, and you can see it's not just using the symbol and inserting the symbol. It also applies a character style, which is shown in the tooltip as well. So this way you can quickly add your equation with all those single elements that you need. And if you collect them inside your tooltip, inside your toolbox, you're quicker dealing with it. And to create a new one or modify an existing one, you just select draw an empty text frame. I have one here, so I'm just exporting that definition of the tooltip. Let's say I want to have E, F, and a P there, and a capital R as well. All defined as math variable here. I could even use a different font, like a different character style. And then once you're done with your edit, you just said add custom toolbox, and it is updated. You can see. You can, of course, give it a different name. You can create a second one with, of course, different settings. It's always the same thing. You go to Math, add custom toolbox, and here you have a list of those project-related or custom toolbox that you created for yourself. And this way, you don't have to deal with all those many symbols and tools, and you have to search every time. You collect your own set. It works similar like the glyphs panel, but you can predefine them, and you can even attach them as you like. So that's the way
this is for the person that's doing this all day.
all day, and with the with the mouse. I mean, some people really prefer working clicking things.
Just clicking on the symbols they need versus trying to type them in. Yeah,
others use,
that makes sense.
Others use Quick Apply. We're integrated with Quick Apply as well. You can type, for example, fraction or square, and you can insert an expression this way as well. Again, of course, you can use keyboard shortcuts as well. There's a whole lot of menu entries here. I personally always assign a shortcut to those pop-up menus, which is more or less what you find in this M menu in the control set. I have a Control S, for example, assigned. So when I'm inside like let's enter a fraction as well, creating a fraction, and if I press Control S now, I get a list of matching math styles that could be applied, and like binomial, so it's without the fraction bar. Or I could make it a big stacked fraction. I could make it appear as a diagonal fraction, and so on. That's one of the keyboard shortcuts I like. And you have that M menu. It's like you have the C menu for the character style, or the A menu and the paragraph menu. And here you get a context menu for the expression that you're actually working at. You can switch style as well. You can insert an expression, and you can put even this menu on a keyboard shortcut, or even just if you make a lot of curly braces, you can make that on a keyboard shortcut as well. That's one thing I would really like to show you with the braces, because that's a little bit impressive, I think. Let's just have to change the paragraph style. Just make it bigger. 24. Okay, so center it. I start with this one. I insert many of them. I have to click slower. So now if I edit that expression, that math style, and for example, I make an additional offset here and there into preview, it is resizing those parentheses, and it's not just scaling it, it's really replacing those characters. So let's make it bigger. You can see that those are all actually characters. They're not really just scaled, and if they're getting too big and there's no single glyph available anymore, it assembles those braces, and it's working with braces and the square brackets as well. It assembled those expressions with fixed elements here and there, and a dynamic or scalable element, so that it's not distorted, the appearance.
So it seems like you've thought of everything.
Yes, that was a big thing.
Yeah, so with that, we're going to have to stop here. We're out of time, but I want to thank you, Ferdinand, for coming on, and also everyone who watched and asked questions. Great. Wilson asked one last question here, and I think we already covered this. Wilson's asking, so the originals where work comes in doc format, we did cover placing Word documents, both the InDesign way and the MathTools way. So that was actually already covered. You can go back and watch that part of the presentation. So Ferdinand, what's the website that they need once again?
InDesignMathTools.com.
InDesignMathTools.com. So check it out. And Ferdinand, I want to thank you for joining me once again, and we hope to have you back next time you have a update or anything that's a major thing you want to show us. Just let us know.
Thank you, Terry, for having me.
All right. So. Okay, hang on, Ferdinand. We're going to end the stream, and we can chat as we head out. All right, cheers, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye.